Yeah, everything's on.
Звук is ready. Звук is звук.
Airplane mode is
Sorry,
on.
because I've got sweaty ears now.
Yeah.
Sweaty ears.
Okay, so we're ready. Everybody's ready, and yeah, we are happy as can be. I
Where is
think
that camera going though?
No, that doesn't work.
yeah, the camera is just floating around because you are too charming for this camera, so that's why camera got blushed. Yeah, so I guess that's the high time to introduce who we are, who you are, what we are doing, and why we are here. Okay.
Hello, I am number 29.
Oh, okay.
It's like prison. It's like prison.
Yes, that is so true. Daniel, please tell me where you're from, what you do, why you're here, and where we are actually.
Okay, so hello. We're in the BartendersFAQtory in St. Petersburg, Russia. My name is Dan Nevsky. I am technically Russian by birth, but I also have a British passport, so I feel like I'm a unicorn. I'm a Russian export.
Yes.
I'm a Russian export. I'm a sleeper agent for the Russian bartending community. I currently live in Barcelona, Spain. I am the founder of Indie Bartender. It is a company that is currently focused on providing free, tangible, business-related education of the bar community. And our goal by 2022 is to help 10,000 bartenders become better, smarter, and work more efficiently. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That wasn't prescripted. That was
He's done that before, hasn't he?
from the bottom of your heart. From the bottom of your heart, that we would say.
I will speak like this when I have to be sounding very intimidating.
Yeah, that is so true. Tim, please say hello to our, I don't know how you call it, friends or
Hello
TV
to,
watchers.
I don't know how you say it, friends.
Friends, yeah, to everybody who
Hi,
you are,
everyone.
what you're doing, and where we are.
My name's Tim Etherington Judge. But he's already said where we are, so I don't need to repeat that.
What's your other middle name? Loyal? Lyle?
Noel.
No, there you go.
So thankfully I was born before the new year, otherwise I'd be known as Piers Noel Etherington Judge.
Jesus
Which
Christ.
may be the most pretentious name you've ever heard.
Nice, damn, that sounds so fancy.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Cool.
I'm co-founder of I'm the founder of Healthy Hospo, co-founder of Avalanche Spirits, and co-founder of Lasso.com.
Cool.
Lasso.com?
Yeah, so it's an e-commerce marketplace for independently owned drinks brands.
Cool.
Oh, we are dreaming of having that e-commerce stuff in Russia because we can't sell alcohol online.
Really? Oh,
No,
it's
never.
Fantastic in the UK to see.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, so
who are you?
And who are you?
You are them. My name is Artyom Peruk. I'm the co-owner and co-founder of a lot of projects here in St. Petersburg. Like the main and the first project of our company was El Copita's Bar and still is. So we are here in BartendersFAQtory. Today we're going to be having a guest shift at El Copita's Bar. The most influential guest bartender. Yeah, that's insane. And still, I love it. Well,
By three guys that don't work in a bar anymore.
yeah.
And we're not going to be standing behind the bar top.
Yeah, well, yeah. What I can explain. No, that would be awesome because I mean, in Russia, you've been here quite a lot.
I 16 times now to Russia.
What?
I've been to Russia more times than any other country.
16 times. How many you've been? How many times?
5?
Just.
I'm more Russian than he is.
Yeah. So, I mean, beware. Damn, 16 times. So the point is, I mean, Russian guests, they would definitely be more appreciative, I would say. Not around the cocktails, not for the cocktails, but for the kind, I would say.
Thank God for that, because none of us can make cocktails anymore.
No, you can. Me can't.
The good, the bad.
Yeah.
And, well, you're not ugly, but...
Okay, so we're going to be having a guest shift that we'll call a charity guest shift. All the money after that guest shift coming to the local orphanage.
We're going to be donating everything to...
So why we are here, we appear to be on the list of Remy.
Our guest
Remy,
as well is
sorry.
also on the list.
Yeah, the guy is also on the list, so we are on the list, and this guy, Remy Savage, also, and he meant to be part of St. Petersburg Cocktail Week that recently happened, but he was part.
He was part.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's still here.
Yeah,
he hasn't left.
He's still here. So we appear to be on the list of Bar World top 100 most influential people in the world, industries people, and blah blah blah. So I can't even learn by heart the name.
On an Instagram handle, it's way too long to
Yeah.
type.
So and the idea just to have a conversation is to talk about this list. I know people who quite I would say respectfully trying to analyze the list. They really like it. Of course we are on the list, so that's why not? I mean, we love the list, but sometimes some people, they hate it, or they don't understand what it's all about. They don't know why there is an institution for making influential people being even more influential. I don't know. So, and how influential bar figures can influence, or can they? The bar itself.
Well, I mean, let's start with the reason for this. The reason for the list is to help promote Drinks International, right? The reason that they've done it is so it creates conversation like this. It gets people talking about Drinks International. They get lots of press out of it. Hopefully, they get some more subscriptions so people buy their magazine. That's the reason for the list. I'm not hating on it. I think it's an amazing thing to do, and there are some incredible people. You know, there's a list of 100 people who are all contributing stuff to the betterment of our industry, and that's something that should be celebrated for sure.
Okay, so what do you know about that list? I mean,
Well,
what is top 100 for you?
Well, I think that this is a very good question. I think specifically you are talking about, like, some of the things we're going to cover is probably the list itself and thoughts behind it, but you specifically mentioned what can we do with it. Like, I'm more futuristic thinking for this way, because in my bartending career, it's always been a bit of a tough climb to get my voice heard, and probably now, 15 years into the career, I'm suddenly on this list. And it's affirmation. It's affirmation of all the hard work you've done. And of course, when you get this affirmation, if you hold on to it, you don't want it to go away, right?
Yeah, true.
Even though this list is only 3 years old, and like any list, especially since if you look back at the 50 best bars, which was launched 14 years ago?
No, longer than that, I think, because I remember. Maybe it was 14 years?
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's been around for a long time. Because when I was in New Zealand, the bars in New Zealand are on there.
So that's the whole thing. So when that list first started, because there was no other lists, they almost had like a monopoly on the list.
True.
And everybody immediately took it for the Bible, for at their word. And in this case now, we've got top 500 best bars, we've got Spirited Awards, we've got the Mixology, there's a bazillion awards. So now lists are almost like saturated, if that makes sense. And obviously, what's very interesting about, if we're talking like politics and Drink Center, whatever, I find it very interesting that they made the judges for top 50 best bars anonymous 3-4 years ago. And so people's names were out of this special list that they had in World's 50. Then they sold top 50 to William Reed, and then 2 years later, they launched top 100 best people. So see what I mean? Like, it was a very interesting move. I agree with Tim in terms of it's to promote Drinks International. However, I would argue that possibly it's even more than that. Someone saw an opportunity which exists in other industries, top 100 most influential tech people, top 100 most influential chefs. And they're like, well, why don't we have...
under 30, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, why don't we have one for the bar industry? That makes sense. And suddenly they're like, cool, well, the first person to do it. It's always easier to be first than to be the best. When you're the first, it's you immediately get this big thing.
Yeah, that's true. For me, like, the biggest, I would say, question why they change, I mean, Hamish, thank you so much for having this opportunity to have a conversation. Why it's not top 100 best people in the bar world?
Because I don't think it, what best is a very weird definition.
Yeah, I mean,
definition,
completely weird, but influential as best.
Yeah, I think it's because it's about celebrating people who are moving our industry forward. And it's not about who's best or who's worst, because that's when you use the word best, some people are best. Some people are worst. This is people who are having an influence, and it's the top 100, and they put people in order and say how far they've climbed or fallen. But I think for me the number is irrelevant. It's just there's 100 people on there who are having a super positive impact on our industry, and each person is going to be more influential to other people. Yeah. There's people on that list who are super influential to me and have really inspired my career. People like Jacob Briers, for example. Yet there are people much higher on that list than him who have had almost no influence on my career. So it's just a group of people who are trying to make our industry better in whichever way that they specialize in, whether it's making great cocktails, running great bars, championing anti-racism causes, health and wellness in my case. You know, there's all sorts of interesting ways that people are having a positive impact on our industry, and I think this list really celebrates those people.
Yeah, that's true. I think I was even more shocked than I appeared to be in the list the first time. The previous year it was 97th position, and it's practically nothing, but still be on that list, be that peer around amazing fellow-minded persons around the world made me more happy, more shocked than this year. I don't know why, because I climbed a lot, but still that was like, wow, top 100, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's why I think that the number is irrelevant.
Yeah, true.
You know, I've been on it every year so far, and the number to me means nothing because it's just a list of 100 great people.
Yeah, but I think there's also an interesting thing to think about, because obviously we're all voters on this panel, right? I guess it would make sense that you vote for the most influential people.
Me not. I wasn't voting.
You were not a voter? That's weird. So that's interesting.
Or maybe I missed the mail.
He ignored the email.
Maybe I missed the mail, but I wasn't voting for anyone.
Well, they were sending the email for the top 100 for the first 2 years to my old Cocktails for You email, and I've had to remind them that I'm no longer with them.
Okay.
So maybe that's the thing. But, well, okay, so fuck you then. So the voting...
Who's this guy?
Who the fuck are you?
Fuck are you? I mean,
Remy,
yeah,
can you
could
step
you
in?
substitute the guy?
Could you step in?
Yeah.
But what's interesting, let's talk about voting, for example, right? It's a big part of this list. There's 120 people voting for it who have been broken down into certain categories. And I don't know whether those are the right or the wrong people. You know, we don't choose the voters. But I think it's a very difficult list to pick.
Yeah, true.
I find it very difficult because I sat there and there was like 7 people you choose. And you, again, in order of influence according to you, and you sit there and you go, especially during a time like the pandemic, and you think and you go, fuck, like, what's been going on? Who's doing it? You can't travel. You can't do anything. And I'm like, how do you pick, you know, who's having a positive impact, especially when you're stuck in a lockdown or a quarantine during such a difficult time? And what I think is interesting about this list is specifically what we're trying to do with it here right now, possibly with as a sort of the first ever time someone's used the list as a reasoning for a guest shift or for a podcast or for a charity event, because no one's really embraced it at all. I think there's possibility into utilizing the list for the very same reasons that people have fallen on the list, trying to do good and trying to do good things.
True, that is true. I mean, so sometimes you get in there to that list, and then you got that list as an instrument, and nobody's using that instrument except like reposting, liking, and commenting. And like within like 3 years after publishing the list, no one actually cares about the list.
It's like Bitcoin. Like if you believe in Bitcoin, Bitcoin gets more value. If
believe in Bitcoin?
Well,
it's like a religion?
Well, if you believe in Bitcoin, you invest in Bitcoin, then the value of Bitcoin goes up.
Yeah,
it's
true.
exactly the same thing with this list.
Absolutely.
It's not, it doesn't exist. Influence is not something you get out of your pocket or you pay your rent with. Now, but you can possibly use it to
You can pay your rent in Bitcoin though.
Sure, I don't think my landlord takes Bitcoin.
Not yet, at least.
About the influence. So we were discussing that before the camera went on. So influence, like what is influence? Like literally the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. So that's more like a positive effect, right? So you develop someone.
Yeah, I mean, influence can go both ways. You can have a negative influence on
true.
people, and there's plenty of people throughout history that have negatively influenced the world. But yeah, I think that everybody on that list is definitely having a positive impact. I still find it ridiculous that I'm on the list for one.
Oh, come on. Oh.
No, because, you know, I've come from a small place, you know, a country, from the countryside, a small village in Cornwall, and then bartended in New Zealand. And, you know, I started right back at the beginning of this kind of renaissance of cocktails and bars and everything. So to see, you know, and I look up to a lot of people who some of those are on this list and some of the people are not. And I still remember being a young bartender, well, not that young, because I'm really old. You know, and for me, I'm just trying to help, you know. Everything that I do is either it's trying to help the health and wellness of people in the industry or with Avalon trying to kind of help combat climate change. It's never been about trying to get onto a list or being famous or being a celebrity. It's just about trying to have a positive impact.
To comment on that, right? I think the way you're speaking right now is very typical of British people and British culture. You know, you showing off it's very similar in Russia in a way. If you show off, you get, you know, your friends are meant to put you down. That's how you know your friends. If your friends make fun out of you, I grew up there. If you make fun out of somebody in Britain, that means you're real friends. If you just ignore them, that means you actually don't like them. That's the way culture. So I think everyone who has a bit of self-awareness sees this list and they have that imposter syndrome. Like, why am I?
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm from a little village. That's the same story that he has. That's the same story as I have. We've all from like, and when you get named on some sort of top 100 most in the world, you go like, well, the thing that goes in my head, I'm like, if I get hit by a bus, like today, tomorrow, whatever, and I die, is that going to affect anyone at all in the industry worldwide? My answer is no. It's not going to make a lick of fucking difference. Sales are not going to go down. No, we made a joke.
That's a very interesting perspective. So how you see your influentiousness, so-called?
Well, that's my whole thing. Like, okay, everyone's going to post some shit on Facebook, and if you're lucky, they'll remember you for 3 years, while Facebook still tells them that we took a photo together at an event, and then that's it, you're done. It's a very depressing point of view, but that's the way I evaluate sort of influence in my sense of it. However, you're sort of banging my own drum here in terms of I want people to feel empowered about this list, whatever the reason is. Sometimes you don't decide whether you're influential or not. I know so many people who've made fun out of Tim on WhatsApp. I've done it as well at some point, but we're talking about it, which means we're talking about running, which means we're talking about sleep, which means we're talking about one way or another what Tim is doing, and it's on our mind. And if it's on our mind, even for 30 seconds while making fun out of him on a WhatsApp group or going for a run finally after 13 years, one way or another, there might have been a domino effect from someone in the industry that's happened. And that is influence, whether it's public in likes and shares or whether it's dark influence in WhatsApp groups or even if it's just interpersonal influence. If there's a conversation that is being had as a result of someone's actions, they are influential whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that is true. So, but how can you measure that, I would say, intrinsic influence within that WhatsApp group?
Ask Mark Zuckerberg. I'm 100% convinced he's got an algorithm for this.
I just think you need a refractometer and a pair of scales.
True. So, and influential, do you think that would be cool to rename it not to the world 50 best bars, but to the world most influential 50 bars?
That would make sense.
Yeah, because
because they're not are they the best bars in the world? Maybe, maybe not. Everyone has their own different bars, and they are the top 50 bars that spend the most money or have successful PR campaigns and manage to get to the top. Once you're kind of in that world, it's also a kind of a self-perpetuating list. I think that if you look at, I listened to a podcast with the chef from 11 Madison Park.
Dan something.
Daniel Zun. No, Nunn. Zun.
Daniel Munn. Dan Munn. Whatever.
Like that. Whatever his name is. And he just kind of posed himself a really interesting question, which was, I spent my entire career cooking for the 1%. And I have a 3 Michelin star restaurant that's rated as one of the top restaurants in the world, if not the best restaurant in the world. It's like, what am I doing it for? What is the point of cooking this food for the richest people on the planet? And he had this kind of like self-realization when the restaurant was closed during COVID, and he's just like, what purpose does this serve, cooking great food for super wealthy people? It's not solving any of the world's problems or anything. And as they've reopened, he's taken the restaurant, made it entirely plant-based. So it's the world's first vegan Michelin star restaurant. And for every meal that they sell, they produce 5 meals for what they call 11 Madison truck, which is a truck that provides food for people in need.
Damn, I didn't know that.
No, so they serve 100 people a night. So they're making 500 meals every single day for people in need around New York. And like, for me, that is an amazing case of him going, my restaurant is at the top of this list of 50 best restaurants in the world. 3 missions, and I'm going to use that to make the world a better place.
Yes,
which I think is an amazing thing to do.
That is exactly what we're talking about, like yesterday and today, like prior this video session. I mean, so sometimes people avoid that lists or awards or competition. I mean, telling everyone and to themselves that we don't need that. But if you take it as an instrument, if you believe in, as you were telling about, I mean, like Bitcoin, if you invest it, that makes sense. So if you invest into that list, you can have that instrument to influence the world. Because, for example, what we're doing right now, we are having a list. That's today's
3rd year.
Yeah, today's the 3rd year, and it's Tuesday, right? Today's Tuesday.
Yes.
Tuesday, and nobody goes for drinking on Tuesday. Nobody. I mean, in St. Petersburg. But when we have you guys, so it's already packed, and we can get that. That's a small percentage of overall the cash flow, but we can invest into that orphanage and. I would say communication with that. That would be the first time we try to find someone we need to support.
Well,
I mean,
a house starts with the first brick.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting how sometimes.
So profound.
So that's
I'm sorry, only he can be a climate changing guru of how no one else is allowed to have a little profoundness. No, I'm
with
using
great
this.
With great. Fuck it.
Yeah, you fucked it, didn't you? With a great influence comes great. With great influence comes many likes on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I would, just to get back to your story about the 11 Madison Park, you know, like there's an element of me being a bit of a cynic about a lot of people. That is a first world problem from us, with an interesting solution from a person who has, I think he's doing fine in life. If he can afford to do that to his restaurant in New York City, and he's in a comfortable position to make such a drastic change and do it, that's awesome, and I 100% support that. But my whole thing is, I guess it's because I'm from the city that was very powerful in the Russian Revolution, so it's genetically inclined to me about power of the people. Like, people doing something from a position of power that's charitable, it's awesome and I support it. But it's great to be in a position when you can do that. When most of the world, like him having this realization he cooks for 1%, he fucking knew it. Right, he fucking knew it, but then a big thing came, it sort of changed his life, he had an epiphany, and he's changed. We all change every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. The conversation we would have had 5 years ago are different now. And in my case, for example, I can't afford to just be a charity because I need to have the stability and the cash flow in order to succeed and do what I want. If the guy's ass is covered, then he can go in the fucking food truck and give homeless people food and whatever and feed them. But there's one thing, it's about doing something that is possibly helping, but there's always an element of, you know, there's a press release that you're doing something great and you can do it because you have money, but there's the other end of the world where it's like, how many of those homeless people, I'm just being a dick right now, how many of those homeless people then, cool, I don't need to spend money on food anymore because I just go to the 11 Madison truck. I'm going to go do more drugs. I'm going to go do more alcohol.
I don't agree with that.
Well, no, but
because, you know, if you look at the homeless situation, like no one chooses to be homeless, right? It is something it's a horrible situation that people are forced into. And the reason that some of them, and it's a small percentage of them, end up drinking and doing drugs is because their situation is so fucking horrible and none of us can have experienced it.
True.
Right?
No.
You know, I've slept rough a few nights when I was traveling and ran out of money in Bangkok, but I knew that I had a safety net that my parents would bail me out. And even that, like 3 nights sleeping rough in Bangkok was a horrible experience, but to have that as your permanent future, fuck, I would drink. I would do whatever I could just to make my life a tiny, tiny bit better.
I'm not trying to get into bashing homeless people. I'm super not knowledgeable on the subject, so I have I shouldn't be, technically not intelligent or knowledgeable about the subject to give broad opinions on it. I'm 100% convinced you are way more knowledgeable on this because it's part of what you do. What I mean about is, my whole thing is that it's easy to do good things when your ass is covered and then you are able to commit your life to doing good.
But that's the point.
I think
It's much more difficult to do good things when you're desperate, when you don't know when the next check's going to come in, when you don't know if you can afford your rent. That's a big thing for me.
And then you've got this weird...
And I don't know where that's coming from, but when I hear that story, I think, oh my God, what a great guy. But like, he fucking knew he was cooking for the 1% for 10, 12 years. to have an epiphany, I just believe there's an element of he was doing it for himself because he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the art of creating amazing dishes or whatever. And then he had some sort of change. How many people change when they have kids? How many people change?
Yeah, but that's luck, and that's I would say the moment of momentum when he realized that sometimes that something could be changed. But not everybody does that. I mean, that's the one chef out of the whole world.
And I think also that, to go back to your point, is that there is a, if you look at the amount of money that's donated to charitable causes as a percentage, poor people donate far, far more as a percentage of their income than the wealthy.
And that's who I would prefer to celebrate.
Yeah, no,
Does that
exactly.
make sense? Like, that's the people I prefer.
But we were talking about influence, and we were talking about what can we use this list for, and what can we use out being influential within our industry for. And I think like Monica is a good example of this.
Well, I guess I'm just being sort of a hater in this situation, specifically to look at the other side of it. Because I was at an event on Sunday with a bunch of other people who are quite influential, in my opinion, in certain parts of the world of the industry, who have been hating on this list quite aggressively.
Why?
Well, I don't know. We made a joke that probably because they're not on it. Because why not hate on a list because you're not on it? And because, of course, I think what Tim said was very interesting at the beginning. There's some people on the list who've highly influenced him, and some people who have not. And of course, there's no, as the bar industry grows bigger, and we spoke about this during lunch, as it expands and we have more people are joining the profession, more people are getting into the cocktail niche of the bar industry and getting to know all these influencers and all these bar shows. It becomes a more competitive market. It becomes more of I'm 100% convinced now in its third year, there's going to be people who are going to make it their goal to get on that list. That's going to, not for reasons of, like Tim said, I'm just doing this, this, and this, and someone decided to vote for me, and that's awesome. There's going to be people who are like, cool, okay, let's see what everyone's doing. How can I do something of equal charitable? You know what I mean? Like I'm always about the motivation. I know. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like the world 50 best bars. I mean, we have a bar that's 6 years old. Actually, 7 practically. In like several months, it will be 7 years old. Of course, we were trying to do whatever we could, and then we could get that image of promoting the bar like by the certain script. And you can see that different bars around the world doing the same stuff during the voting period again and again. And that would happen with the top 100, that for sure. But I was wondering how interesting it could be just to understand that you see that when you are in a plane and they ask if there could be like a crash or something, so you can put the mask on yourself and then on your child. I think that's people who are underrated, I would say, or maybe just poor, or they don't have any opportunity to live, or they're homeless. So the main charity they could do is to help themselves out. That's the main charity they could, and that would be the best thing they could ever could make, right? I mean, that's if anyone would be taking care of themselves properly. It's like they do that. Wealthy people making all the charity initiatives. They would help the world greatly.
I don't think it's just wealthy people. I think it's influential people. I'm going to go back to my quote.
Yeah, for sure.
So with great power comes great responsibility. But I think if we switch it to great influence comes great responsibility. Like being on this list, we do have an influence over the industry and other people within the industry. We are seen as peers and mentors to a lot of people. So I think we do have a responsibility to drive the industry forward in a better way. Like you're doing here in Russia, and like you're doing on social media, trying to educate bartenders. By being on this list, we have a responsibility to, it's not just about like
what I worry
buffing
about.
our own foreheads and saying how amazing we are.
Remy, what do you think?
Remy, come on, you are
very silent.
Yeah, you are just too shy right now. Why that? What was the idea that first came into your mind when you appeared to be on the list? Something like, I would say, positive, so an influential.
I had no positive idea.
My response was like, because I was on it the first year it came out.
Yeah, same.
And I was at number 10.
Ooh.
And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this a joke? Like, what the? I just found it the most bizarre, weird thing I could possibly imagine.
Yeah, that was shocking. I can see, but I mean, was it the idea? Now I need to prepare my presentation much more thoroughly, or maybe I need to be late for my airport. I mean, whatever. It could be really the most stupid
stuff.
stuff.
Let's not talk about planes after the last 2 days I've had.
Yeah, just for instance, anything. Just now I should have that responsible side of my persona.
Yeah,
I had two thoughts. Right, the first thing was, awesome, this is going to help my business. This is a positive thing for me. In hindsight, that did not help my business for reasons we don't need to go into. And then when I left my partnership with Cocktails for You, I was like, cool, this is the only thing I have left. Like, this is it. I've just sold my business and I'm going into a pandemic. I'm back on the list. Holy shit, I've climbed. I'm like, great, because this means that I have some sort of unique selling point
on your own,
on my own, that I have something to do. So
amazing.
That was the positive thing. On the other hand, like completely on the other side of it, I was like, fuck, now people are going to project their thoughts on me. This is the one thing that pisses me off about influence. And I agree with you about that. Whoever's influential has a responsibility. I think presidents, politicians have responsibilities because they've chosen a job where they're directly in charge of people. I spoke about this during the video I made about to 100. Hard influence and soft influence. About when you're directly responsible for people. If you are not direct, so if you own 5 bars, a catering company, a cocktail week, whatever you say can affect 20, 30 people, then you have a big responsibility to what the fuck you say. If you own a spirits company and you are a healthy hospital, you do. In my case, I make videos in my spare bedroom, commentating very often about, like, I'm sort of positioning myself more of a journalist right now, even though I still do guest shifts and seminars. And the people that choose to like, share, comment, and watch my content, that is a choice. And what I stand behind is specifically commentary, balanced commentary, and my personal opinion is the key selling point of what I do. And I try and balance it. So I have a big thing about, I don't want people who are less influential projecting what I should be behaving like on me.
True.
I have a big issue with people saying to me, you have responsibility, you should have to do this, this, and this. Stop telling me what to do. If you think this is important, you go and fucking do it. You go and do the things that you believe. But I'm here for whatever reason, whether I'm high on that list or not on that list. I'm doing what I'm doing, and there's a reason why these people follow and like and share what I do. So my responsibility is not to you, it's to them. When the people that consume my content start complaining, when the people who follow me start complaining, and that are my regular customers, that's who I'm going to listen to. I'm going to listen to my audience.
And that's true.
Not people outside my audience.
That makes sense.
Projecting their shit on me. And I have a very big issue with this because I think this is something that a lot of people whose specific goal is influence or whatever that means, they will try and emulate other more successful people. So if someone talks about diversity, cool, I got to talk about diversity. Someone's saving climate change, I got to talk about saving climate change. You know, like you have to find your own way, find your own audience.
I think there's also a group of people that are trying to make a name for themselves through cancel culture. And I think it's one of the most toxic things in society right now. Is people trying to cancel other people and making a name for themselves by canceling someone.
For me, that's looking at that from that, I would say, sometimes savage country. So to watch what's going on in the civilized European world, I mean, like, fucking hell, it's canceling a person. I mean, I hate it because that's not my mother language, right? Like, cancel. To cancel means you close the window in your computer. So how you cancel a person? It's like canceling, like a thing or whatever. I mean, how can you do that? How can you think about that?
I mean, we saw it. I mean, we can use a live example if you want. We saw it with Jim Murray in his Whiskey Bible.
Yep.
When somebody who didn't agree with what Jim wrote came out and attempted to destroy his entire career. Rather than writing to Jim and saying, hey, I don't like what you're doing, can we have a conversation about it? Or not buying his book in the first place and saying, you know what?
Start your own whiskey bottle.
Yeah, or start, and that's the other one. Like, if you don't agree with someone, I don't believe that you should try and cancel. I think you should do something positive to offset. I don't agree with how the industry is at times, in the way we celebrate hangovers, we celebrate working too many hours, we celebrate burnouts. But rather than bitching about it, I'm trying to do something positive to change that.
Even though you still suffer from hangovers. And
probably, sometimes I do have a hangover. Sometimes I work too hard. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm saying that if we can have a conversation where we can look after each other a little bit more and come from it from a positive point of view, rather than criticizing and pointing fingers, because that just doesn't work for me.
Well, it's two words in my opinion. It's balance and it's context, right? You're not one... I remember I was reading a book where a doctor from the NHS in the UK, which is the National Health Service, he was being asked by the government in a survey, are you a good person? And that is such a stupid question because, and this guy was like old school, born in the 60s, like he just listened, why are you asking this question? Like, what do you mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
What is the answer to that question? Are you a good person? Well, I think so, but I can't answer that because I've done bad shit in my life, whatever he thinks bad things are. And the questionnaire, if you fulfill it, you keep your doctor's license or something. It's something really weird. It happened in the 90s. And he refused to answer the question. He was like, I'm not answering that question. That's a stupid question. And after 30 minutes of arguing with the government survey guy, the government survey guy's like, just lie. Just go with the program, stick with the system. You're a good person. That's it. And let us move on and stop wasting my time. So it's like it's a very strange situation of just the irony of playing.
The irony that a good person will debate that question. I'm not sure if I'm a good person, but a complete psychopath will go like, yes,
exactly.
You know.
And so this thing, what's very interesting about the idea of cancel culture or not cancel culture. I remember I don't know if anybody here is a nerd. There used to be these cards you can collect called Magic the Gathering cards. They're like Pokemon for nerds in the 80s. And they used to be
in
like...
the 80s?
Yeah, I don't know why I had them. Or the 90s. They're still around now. There's a whole championship.
I just had garbage pail kids.
But imagine like it was like fantasy. There was like fucking like dragons and stuff. But what I really liked about these cards is if you looked at they always had a really cool quote. Some like at the bottom, and I don't know who made these quotes up, but the one I remember from my collection that I had that I sold for £200 to another nerd in 2002. There has a very good quote in there about a Goblin King, putting Goblin King in the top 100, and it said the Goblin King, and the quote was, "Sometimes to be a hero, you don't have to step forward; you just have to make sure everyone else steps back." And
wow, the Goblin King was profound.
The Goblin King was profound in 2002. So this makes me always remember cancel culture now as I'm an adult. Like, you don't need to do something great or go against the system or try and do something different. You just need to make sure everyone else looks like a dick, and then you look amazing. Yeah. And that, for me, is like that quote. And whenever anybody brings up cancel culture, I'm like, here's the Goblin King and the quote. And then that makes people go, okay. You know, then there's no way you can counter that quote. I see it as like a bit of a trump card. Trump, cancel culture.
Damn. I need to step up my game right now with some serious quotation. Fuck.
But let's talk about the top 100 in terms of the future.
The future. Like so what we just for example, let's pretend that you all realize that's more like an instrument, like kind of positive, and you like it, and that is something that you could be proud of, but how it could help you, your personal career. I mean, whatever you promoting healthy hosper and mindful attitude towards your life and your professional initiatives. But how is it going to be expanding your seminars, or you will be traveling around the world more often? What will be?
I don't see it, to be honest. I'm trying to step back from like being publicly visible, if that makes any sense. Like I
considering
don't want
how you look, that's a good idea.
Yeah, thanks. Especially quite now. I'm quite sweaty. Would you agree with that?
Remy, your opinion? No opinion.
No opinion.
I've never seen him so quiet. There's three bald men in the
three bald guys in the room. I think I gotta shave my head out of solidarity.
I know. Yeah. So for me, it's like I'm trying to step back from being a public face of my company. I want my because my companies are purpose driven. They're not founder driven or people driven. You know, Healthy Hospo is about building a healthier, happier hospitality industry. It's not about me celebrating that or doing that. And if it's truly going to achieve that, I need to step back into the shadows and let it become what it does. The same with Avalon. You know, it's a purpose led brand. We're trying to create the world's most planet positive spirits brand. and really champion sustainability within the industry. So it's not a founder-led brand, something like a Johnny Walker or a Charles Tanqueray or something like that. It's a purpose-led brand.
They're dead. They're not around.
They are now, but they were once alive.
But surely, okay, well, interesting what you mentioned there about purpose-driven and founder-led, right? In the end, one of the key things that I talk about in Indie Bartender, and it's one of my foundation things about loyalty, right? And people are loyal to people. People don't want to work with Avalon because they love bees or Calvados. They probably like you,
maybe at
or Stephanie.
That's at the start, I think. I think at the start, like it will open doors, but you need to reach a point.
That was exactly what I was trying to go to. Is like in the end, most companies have a big founder who starts it until they develop that system or
which is purpose. Where I want to move to.
But at the same time, whatever people that are in the company afterwards, after the big founder, after the Steve Jobs, right? They can't, maybe he's not a best example because it's a very modern example and life has changed. But let's take, for example, the Charles Tanqueray, right? Tanqueray gin, blah, 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 200 years old. But a lot of people like the brand because of Angus Winchester at one time, because he was the global guy, right, or the US guy. But then we had different ambassadors locally. They used to pick them quite well, or still pick them quite well. I don't know a single Tanqueray ambassador now. But it was the personal connection that kept the brand alive. I think this is the biggest thing that people need to understand. You can't get rid of advocacy, even though people will still drink the gin that they like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get that. But with us, it's...
But you're doing the right thing. I'm just sort of just expanding on that thought. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, totally. I think that, I mean, there is the phrase that people would get inside the company and would definitely get inside the company, but get out, not because he didn't like. Oh, that was.
Tables.
Yeah, so they would be fired. They would get outside the company because of the manager. So they want to be part of the company, but they want to be on a friendly or any other terms with the manager. So I mean, sometimes company is about people, and I don't know whether it's good or bad, but it's when you feel that you're a head manager or CEO or the founder or maybe the main ideologist of the company. Sometimes it takes you quite unready for that. But you can be more influential within yourself just to try to influence your people, and maybe that would help. On your personal basis, I would say. So I don't know whether I'm dreaming to make it unpersonal, my company. I don't know whether I like it, whether I would.
Well, you can never tell, right? For me, I think I'm going to be quite a big proponent of the top 100, but on my terms, because everyone else on that list, there's a brand or there's a bar or there's a company that does something specific. I think I'm one of the only people on the list, maybe except Ashton Berry, who has more of again, she's like a proponent of diversity. So she's a company that specifically focuses on that. So there's very few people on that list who don't have a physical thing where they are or that they sell. It's all soft power. Everything. The only reason I think I'm on that list is all because of the stuff I put on the internet, stuff I put on Instagram. Actually, even more niche. It's just my opinion. There's no other reason why anybody would vote for me, except the fact that I'm cranking out content on the daily with a very specific message and providing certain things to the whatever it is that I'm providing. I think that is the only reason. And so,
are you proud of that? I mean, so because sometimes you for example, me, we have a bar, and bar is quite cool. We have a team, and sometimes my guys can be influence other guys around the world, not me personally. Is it cheating or maybe not? And if you telling about your soft power, it's completely because of you, not because of my guys being charming, right? Or being influential, but it's completely because of you. Are you proud of that? Or maybe you're just dreaming of your launch in the bar? So maybe it can work.
Well, the
you get it, right?
I get it what you're saying. I think the message that I send is contextual and balanced, in my opinion. And I do try and do exactly what Tim says in terms of provide a positive message or at least a balanced message. And I actively ask people to use their brain and think. So for me, I sometimes get messages, and I get a lot of messages in the direct memes asking about certain things, or what did I mean, or what did I not mean. And I always try and make people, my whole thing is think about it. Stop blindly following X, Y, or Z, and just use your own brain. And that's a big thing that I'm trying to promote as well when it comes to anything. And that is very difficult. A lot of people like being told what to do. They like being told...
It's very true. That's why we have dictators.
Hello, Vladimir, you're here. This guy talk about you.
I was wondering whether we would make it happen.
The irony of having a conversation like this in a country ruled by a democracy.
But I think the list is much more important to someone like you being on the list because you are a single business and you're...
I could possibly die by this list. Possibly. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Exactly. I think for me, like if I dropped off that list, I don't think it would have any impact on my businesses at all.
And so, but this actually also scares me. This is a big fear because I don't know whether this list affects my stuff or not. Because
unless you get out of the list,
and so I can see the difference.
Yeah,
because the thing is, a lot of you can tell a success of a bar based on profit and loss, a brand based on sales, and I guess. Healthy Hospital is also an amount of workshops possibly or amount of subscribers and stuff like that. In my case, I just have the Instagram followers, which is not that a lot. Kim Kardashian, hello, The Rock, who's more influential?
The Rock definitely is more influential than you.
But that's my whole point.
There's a crazy one. Like Kim Kardashian launched that tequila brand, and within like a week, it had more followers on Instagram than Patron.
No way.
Yep.
Crazy.
I love it.
That's the influence that these celebrities have.
But I'd love to look at the sales. Because remember, when George Clooney got bought over for 1.2 billion and his sales were shite.
175,000 cases and it's now 1 million. But Terramana, which is the Rock's tequila, in its first year in the US alone, sold 300,000 cases.
Awesome.
It's insane. That's absolutely insane.
And he's a lovely guy.
And that's influence.
Yes, that's exactly. He's a lovely guy.
He seems like a really nice guy. It's true.
Yeah, because of that, tequila was sold. I mean, that's
and it feels super genuine. Like if you go on Instagram and you follow him at all, he talks about 3 things really: his daughter, slamming and banging at the gym, and tequila. Those are the 3 things that are constant through his Instagram channels.
Amazing.
I love it. I think this is the. In a weird way, for me, I spoke about in a different podcast about opening a venue in Barcelona. I just want that just to cover my own ass financially for stability in case I do fall out of any. Honestly,
nothing stable about financially stable about opening a bar.
Well, no, but
as you will know, right?
Never.
Well, no,
you will never be this financial stable.
Okay, listen. Not necessarily like this. I mean, like a second source of income.
Yeah.
Whether it's stable or not. But I'm not a person who needs a lot of money to sustain himself. I've lived pretty much on the same salary for 5, 6, 7 years. And I've saved money and then I end up using it during the pandemic when something like that happened. So I know exactly how much money I need per year every month to live on. And the only thing that makes it more is a puppy. The puppy's been the biggest expense I've had in years. And so... because I know how to live, an increase in money will not change my lifestyle at all. And I now have learned that. Yeah. And so as a result, any of that money that comes extra is going to get funded into doing exactly what I want to do, which is this whole training bartenders to be better in a tangible way from business stuff to something along those lines. And this list, if that helps that goal and helps me build a team around that goal, then this list is the shit, and I'm going to support the crap out of it.
Thanks, Hamish, for that. That's true. If it works, I mean, for me, I don't know. For me, it works a lot. I mean, so within two days, I received several messages, several emails, inviting me to Tokyo, inviting me to Sydney, inviting me to London. I mean, 3 years ago, I was shy enough to send a message. We were at South Africa together, so I was shy enough to send a message to anyone from those kind of lists, anyone. And now I can be like, hey, congratulations. Can I invite you over? Within 3 years, for me, the biggest luck, at least to save that time. Mm-hmm. I mean, to save the time and to be more fast and efficient. That's cool. This is really cool. All right, so I'm just getting.
You're getting messages.
So question time. Should we check?
Question time.
Because I've had a bunch of people. We've asked some of the people on Instagram would they like to ask any questions. Do you want to go first?
No, you go. I got some.
Here we go. I got some responses.
We got the nice sound. У нас сейчас звук нормально идет. то у меня такое ощущение, что
I have several responses to all of them. Okay, so the first one, somebody's asked, top 3 things every person aspiring to be in the next list should do. Exactly what we spoke.
Stop aspiring to be in the list, number 1.
Number 1. Number 2, stop aspiring.
No, so stop aspiring to be in the list.
What was the question?
Top 3 things every person aspiring to be in the next list should do.
Stop aspiring to be on the list. Work hard to have a positive impact on the industry. And why? Someone else have an idea.
You started it.
I've got 2 out of 3. Someone else pick one.
That was such a difficult question. I was like, cool, I'll just do the questions. You guys can do this.
And then I think, and celebrate everyone that's on the list. I think don't go out and be a hater about the list.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, so that's not make any sense if you just try to promote the way you don't really respect the list and subconsciously.
Because it's not just disrespecting the list. You're disrespecting every single person that's on that list and the amazing work that they do. And it doesn't matter what number they are. That's 100 people that are having an awesome impact on our industry and driving it forward to make it a better place in whatever way they choose. So those people should be celebrated and the list should be celebrated. So that's the 3. Stop wanting to be on the list, celebrate the people on the list, and work hard to have a positive impact.
You want to add anything?
I would say, if you have that goal, definitely you need to use social media because of course, because you...
That's an interesting one because I've kind of stopped using it. Maybe that's why I've fallen down.
No. The point is that you're from the heart of our industry. You've
been around long enough, old man.
I remember a time before Instagram.
Yeah. So you see that, you just using the language our industry using to communicate. And if you're from outside of the world, I would say, so you definitely need to showcase yourself. You need to, hey, I exist. Come on, please. That sounds kind of cheesy, but exactly what you should do, not to get faded, I would say, right?
So I have a response which I like to use, which is quite aggressive. So I'm going to look directly in the camera and go, if you want to be in the top 50 best bars in the world, if you want to be in the top 100 most influential, blah, 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 be better than number 100, at least. And that means work harder, work faster. And I know this sometimes goes against the idea of sleep, balance, and whatever. But unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society, even though Cuba might disagree, or in Venezuela, but look where they are. No one on the list is from there, are they? But we live in a capitalist society where everyone is always, there is a form of competition happening, whether directly or indirectly. From idiots at a bar trying to get a girl, very instinctive competition, to indirectly in businesses and everything. Everything is competition. And this is, please don't take this out of context, but if you want to be on this list and you look at the amazing things that people who have achieved are doing on that list, you have to be better in order to get on that list. And before this list, there was another 100 people before the listing who were doing amazing things. The top 50 best bars has changed a lot over the years. And in order to get on a list, you must have done something new, innovative, or harder, or something along those lines. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works. And luckily, interestingly enough, this list celebrates doing good things as opposed to just like top 50, do guest shifts and whatever. So if this is a list that celebrates doing good things, man, do better good things than everyone else's, right? That's an awesome competitive...
Be gooder.
That is true.
Be good. Be Jesus.
Be Jesus. And you're going to be definitely in the top 100.
But does that make sense? It's a competition of doing good things.
Yeah, you are forced, if you want to be there, you are forced to be a better person.
Yeah.
That's
a pretty cool...
That's a cool option.
But also be genuine. Be genuine. You have to be genuine
as well. Don't seek to be on the list. If someone starts a consultancy that promises to get you on this list, I'm going to quit.
But there was that guy who promised this.
There's a consultancy that says they can get you on the top 50 best bars.
Yeah, I saw.
But if someone launches a consultancy to get you on the Bar World 100 most influential list, please say no. That's Hamish, the most ridiculous thing. No, Hamish would not do it because Hamish is a really good guy. But
I was trying to joke. Jeez, fucking gross.
But there is
Okay, we got 2 more questions, and I think we are running out of time. But I would definitely be hanging around and skipping our charity guest bartending just to have fun. But we have to go
Without getting too philosophical about 2 things you just said is that don't you think there's also an element of we have to reflect as an industry? Because it's easy to say we have an opportunity. Opportunity always existed before the pandemic, and now but sometimes you need something like a pandemic, like a big chaotic event.
Like accelerated.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, mountains wouldn't grow without any earthquakes. I mean, sometimes.
Ooh, you're profound now.
All right, now.
There you go. But I think
that's true. I mean, that's true. That it is more like a catalyzer for what you were maybe dreaming of doing, and now it's the high time. Whether you do that or maybe you just get out of the business.
I think, Dan's right there. That that COVID time when a lot of places were shut was that time for reflection. If we look back at where the industry over the last 20 years. And we talk about kind of food and drink. We played a price game, right? So all the operators are earning tiny margins in your bars, right? Everyone who's working in the industry is on really super low wages. There was a study that came out that found bartenders were the lowest paid employees in the UK. Yeah. We have forced people into 0 hours contracts, extremely long hours, really unhealthy. You have the highest rates of drug abuse, the third highest rates of alcohol abuse, highest rates of sexual abuse. There's nothing to be proud of. And that time when we were closed, we had a time for reflection, as you said, to look back and go like, is this really how we want our industry to be? Or can we rebuild it in a better way where operators are earning healthier margins, so you can have a little safety net. Staff are earning a living wage at least, not having to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week just to pay their rent. Where customers come in, the guests are having a better time because the staff are not working so hard. They're in a happier place. The customer service is better as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody.
I think it's such a difficult task. I think it's very interesting. I wish we had more access to information about our industry. Not because I believe all your numbers, but probably they're about the UK, which is one of the best regulated countries. Like you can get everything about the UK on the UK Gov website. It's one of the best government websites I've ever seen.
Well, the US is really good as well. The Department of Labor Statistics in the US.
Yeah, it's really good as well.
Is where we get a lot of stuff. But what I found from traveling the world with Healthy Hospo is that the problems of the hospitality industry are generally universal. Doesn't matter which country you're in.
These guys are already pissed off because I think he's running out of all the cameras or whatever.
He's got no SD cards left. Yeah. Right, last question. Then
last question.
Just like 3 more minutes and then we're done, right?
1 minute. Cool.
Right.
Okay, but quick. First of all, I'm going to answer this one myself, but I'll pull it out loud and we'll just close in on your reactions. Last question. What does it take to make it to the top 100?
Tell us, Dan. Tell us.
So no one knows. No one knows. Somebody has to vote for you. 120 people around the world has to vote. That's it. I think that's like a face palm. You like universal face. Yeah. What is it? I don't know. No one knows.
I've got no idea. I have no idea how I'm on the list.
That's it.
I know why you're on the list.
Yeah,
and I can see why you're on the list, but I have no idea why I'm on it.
Should we do a massive circle joke? I don't know why I'm on the list, but I know why you guys.
That. I don't know. Well, I was just a random walking by guy.
But why is he on the list? That's the big question.
Yeah, that's the biggest question. All right, he's not even a human being.
Obviously, redistilled lime juice, guys. Jesus.
Yes. And not wearing socks.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Remy Savage wear socks?
No,
never. And we should buy him a pair. Now he's on the list.
That is the only thing we can tell you. To be on the list, you should never wear socks. Because that means that matters, obviously.
Yes.
It's like top 3, isn't it? Or whatever.
Yeah, something.
Right, that was our 1 minute. We went deep.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we expected some of the direction.
It was like
deep and wide.
Deep and wide. Okay, guys. Right now, I want to thank everybody for just making it happen, and Hamish Smith as well. Thank you so much for supporting, for publishing it, and for all the likes and reposts that you're gonna make, obviously. And for everybody, we definitely will translate that into Russian and publish it on our website, maybe Instagram account, BartendersFAQtory. And yes, today we're going to have a guest shift that's called the most influential guest bartender ever. I would love to pronounce that. We have 3 cocktails and 1 special serving of tequila.
Should be fun.
For all our Anglo-Saxon watchers, the most wankiest name for a guest shift.
So please do come. I mean, if you're somewhere not in St. Petersburg, we're going to post a video how cool it was. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, team. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Artem. Thank you as well.
Most influential guest shift.